Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is a very chilly Saturday, June the 14th, 2025. Got up this morning, I think it was 1 or 2 degrees or something. But that's the way we like it down this way. Beautiful morning as well though. Look at the sun in the back. You probably can't see it. They've got the golf, see in the background there, that's actually a golf course there. So as I walk down this road, the holes, just almost see the flag in the background there. Very close to the road, so sometimes you've got to dodge golf balls as you're walking down here. One of the good parts of living down here, I don't play golf, but if you were a golf player or golfer, whatever they call it, great place to live as well because you're literally right next door to the golf course. Anyway, on to the boxing. Enough of that. Let's start with on this day. And in 1935, no, I take that back, 1934, Max Baer won the world heavyweight title when he dropped Primo Carnera 11 times on his way to an 11th round knockout. Now, yesterday it was actually the anniversary of when he actually lost the title to James J. Braddock in 1935, so a year later. But on this day, in 1934, probably his crowning moment, Max Baer. This is what really, I suppose, gave him his Mike Tyson moment or Sonny Liston moment or George Foreman moment where everyone thought he was a killer. And for that era anyway, was sort of unbeatable. But that was a brutal knockout of Primo Carnera, who was probably, reminds me, well, he's probably in the league of a Deontay Wilder, who may be someone who was maybe not overly talented, but won the world title, did the best they could. But when they came up against a really solid, legitimate heavyweight, were found wanting, and he got dropped. What was that? 11 times. What was that? What did I say? It was 11. Where was that again? What was it? 11 times. Oh yeah, so 11 knocked down 11 times in 11 rounds. That's a feat. Wonder if the referee had a please explain after the fight about, mate, the guy's been knocked down 11 times in 11 rounds. Do you think maybe he might have been a little bit outclassed and he should have been stopped a few rounds early? I know it was a little bit different back in the day though. You fought till you couldn't fight anymore back in those days. There was no health and safety and all the rest of it these days that we get these days. But anyway, all right, let's a few more on these days. All right, 1966 in Wembley, England, Walter McGowan defeated Italy's Salvatore Baruni on points for the WBC flyweight title. In 1977, Mexico's Carlos Palomino defended his world welterweight title with a knockout of England's Dave Green in the 11th round. That was in Wembley, England as well. 1991, the great Mexican Daniel Zaragoza. I remember he fought Jeff Fenech here in Australia in a non-title fight, if you can believe that. He won world titles before and after the Jeff fight, but that particular fight was a non-title fight. But on this day in 1991, so what was that, about 6 years after he fought Jeff, he defeated Japan's Kiyoshi Hatanaka on points to defend his world 122-pound title. That was in Japan. In 1997, Genaro Hernandez defended his world 130-pound title. What was it, on points, I think, over Russia's Anatoly Alexandrov. That was in San Antonio, Texas. And a couple more. In 1997, Oscar De La Hoya, who's had a fair bit to say this week, hasn't he? Defended his world welterweight title by knocking out Kenya's David Kamau in the second round. That was in San Antonio, Texas as well. So that would have been on the same night as Genaro Hernandez, I would think. And last one, in 2008, in Mexico, Edgar Sosa knocked out Japanese fighter Takashi Kunishige in the 8th round for the WBC light flyweight title. So that's what's happened on this day back in the annals of history of boxing. So on to what's happening on, this weekend. Richardson Hitchens and George Kambosos have both weighed in, both made weight. I think, I didn't see the exact weights, but I'm pretty sure Hitchens might have been right on the mark of 140 and Kambosos was 139.4, I think it was. So as expected, fiery, both guys at each other, pretty tense. Both guys would have weighed in earlier, by the way. They would have probably weighed in 3 hours earlier in the morning, or maybe even 4 hours earlier, first thing in the morning. The weigh-ins seem to get dragged out a lot more these days. It used to be, like, it's hard to get your head around, but you would weigh in on the day of the fight. And these are some of the biggest championship fights we've had. You would weigh in on the day of the fight and fight that night, of course. Then it was, the night before, and then it was sort of the day before, and now it's the morning before. I think they weigh in at it might be 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So when you look at it, you've really got about, 36 hours to replenish and rehydrate and refuel, which is a lot of time when you think about it. I mean, I know a lot of these fighters get on the scales and, and a lot of people say, geez, they look quite healthy for struggling to make the weight. Well, no, they've weighed in 4 hours earlier and made the weight and then gone off and probably had breakfast and probably drunk 2 or 3 litres of fluid in that time. I don't mind it, actually. I think, look, I suppose what it does do, though, is it benefits the weight bullies. It benefits those fighters that really take it to the nth degree. And we've seen it in recent times. Come here, man. Where fighters come in at a certain weight and then on the night of the fight, they're 20 pounds, 25 pounds heavier. It's a lot of weight to put on. It's a big advantage. And this is what happened last week, actually, with Edwin De Los Santos, wasn't it? With Keyshawn Davis. He weighed in, he weighed under the limit of lightweight, and Keyshawn Davis was 4 pounds or something, 4.5 pounds over. But Samson Lukovic pulled him from the fight. Now, it has been, just before we move on with Kambosos and Hitchens, it has been a little bit to happen after last weekend's fight, is that they've now parted ways, Samson Lukovic and Edwin De Los Santos. Now, De Los Santos wasn't happy that he was pulled from the fight. He wanted the fight. Now, there was going to be, I think there was a monetary penalty on Keyshawn Davis of $300,000. But apparently De Los Santos was only going to get 50 of it. So I don't know where the other 250 went, but apparently that was the main reason of the separation from Samson Lukovic. He wouldn't comment on the monetary side, but all he said was he was looking after the best interests of De Los Santos, which I'm sure he was doing. That's what he's getting paid to do. But if you're getting a $300,000 penalty, well, why wouldn't the fighter pretty much get all of that? I mean, I know his team would get a percentage of that because that's what they do as the handlers and managers and trainers and all that sort of stuff. So only get $50,000 of 300. Apparently he still wanted to fight. I mean, when you think about it, he hadn't fought for, I think, 18 or 19 months or something, De Los Santos. Getting another crack at a world title. The title was still on the line for him. So I don't know why he wouldn't have pushed harder to have that fight. At the end of the day, Lukovic is his manager. He's got a trainer as well. But at the end of the day, you would think that the final say comes down to the fighter. Because at the end of the day, well, I said end of the day a couple of times there, but they work for him. So that's what I'm surprised at. Is that it's a little bit of the tail wag on the dog here. Because I can tell you, if I was at that level and I was in charge of my destiny and I wanted to fight, well, I'd be fighting. So maybe Lukovic has got a bit more sort of hand or say over his fighters than others, but it really did surprise me that De Los Santos didn't put his foot down and say, I don't care what you're saying, you work for me, you're an advisor. I know he's technically, well, he is the manager, but at the end of the day, again, I'll say, De Los Santos is the employer. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but the fact he was only going to get $50,000 of a $300,000 penalty, but he still wanted to fight, and I don't blame him. He wanted that WBO lightweight title. Look at the doors it could have opened up for him. And now he's got no fight whatsoever. It's a little bit like last year, not as bad as this one, or as significant, I suppose, but when Mikhailovic went to Vegas and Janibek didn't make weight, or he pulled out of the fight before the weigh-in actually occurred, and Mikhailovic was left with nothing. Just, sorry, mate, you're going to have to wear all those training expenses and all that sort of stuff. The fight's off. I'm sure, I would hope that he was monetarily compensated for what happened there, but it's a tough sport sometimes. Everyone thinks these guys get millions of dollars, and some of them do, but some of them don't, and they've got big training costs, and when something like this happens, it has no major ramifications. So anyway, that's what's going on with De Los Santos, but again, if I was him, I would have said, Samson, This is my call. You work for me and I'm fighting. I want that belt. And Lukovic apparently said that, he was, obviously he's acting in his best interest. That's what a manager does most of the time. But he said it was something about, his life was in danger. It's 4 pounds. I know Davis would have ballooned up to probably 160 pounds or something like that. What was the fight at 135? Yeah, he might have weighed 160. De Los Santos might have weighed 145 to 150. But in the scheme of things on the night, it's not a massive thing. It's certainly not, in my opinion, risking your life in there against someone that's 10 pounds heavier. But anyway, that's their call. But they have separated now, so you would think that De Los Santos will be signing with someone like a Matchroom or a Golden Boy, I would think. But back to Kambosos and Hitchens, yeah, they did weigh in, and as expected, fireworks and pushing and shoving and threats and all this sort of stuff. Jim Kambosos, as expected, got into a push and shove with Davis's trainer. I mean, what do you think about this? I do get asked a lot about this well, maybe not asked about it. It's the comments on a lot of the posts and videos that I do, and people send me messages and they talk about George with some of them love what he does, but there's a lot of people that don't like it and actually in some ways embarrassed about it, because obviously he's representing Australia. I must admit, if I had to go one way or the other, I don't mind it, because the way he goes about it for me is a good version of crazy. You see the Devin Haney's and the Teofimo Lopez's and even the Ryan Garcias and all these types of guys. Richardson Hitchens is definitely another one, but all Keyshawn Davis, but all these guys that just act, it's fake. It's just fake. You can just tell. They're just playing it up, and most of the time they don't even know or have any sort of ammunition. They just sort of hurl insults and a bit of a push and shove, and they threaten to probably shoot each other and all these different types of things they threaten each other with. Belunga's probably another one. But for me, they're all manufactured, but for me, George, he does it so well. And I know it rubs people up the wrong way, or some people up the wrong way, and I know it's a lot of people think it's little big man syndrome and all that sort of stuff. And maybe a little bit of it is, but the way he goes about it, he is the master. I love the way he puffs the chest out and the shoulders go out and he gets in their face. Even like at the press conference where he had the sunglasses on to go with it, all dressed in black. I thought it was really good. And the way, look, I know it's not for everybody, and I've been very vocal about this. I don't like it, but it's got to be in context, is probably what I'm getting at. And if you're not good at it, like most of these wannabe gangsters are, then it comes across as forced and pretty cringeworthy and disrespectful and everything like that. George, I think, was made for this scenario of in your face, back and forth, the trash talking. He's the master. So I don't mind it with George, because when he gets on TV and everything and gets interviewed, he doesn't swear. Well, maybe occasionally one might pop out, but there's not the F-bombs that come out that just really make me cringe. When those young fighters, they talk tough with the gangster talk, and they drop the F-bombs and all that sort of stuff. I don't like it. But George, he just does it in a, let's just say, a professional way, if that makes sense. But I don't get too offended about it if that's just me. And again, I know it's not everyone's the same, and I know he does rub people up the wrong way. And the main criticism is, and I suppose it is warranted when you think about it, is that they say, well, he talks so tough in the lead up to it, and then in the ring doesn't let the hands go. And I get that, but for me, look, all that aside, I really like what he brings. I really like it because he doesn't. It's hard to explain, but I just think he does it. If you can trash talk respectfully and professionally, George Kambosos does it. So I don't mind it. I think he's great. And now he's got to back it up tomorrow. That's the big thing. You can talk it up as much as you want and puff the chest out and get in the push and shoves and putting bets on and all this sort of stuff. Although I'm not sure, did he actually put the bet on? I'm not sure. Your dad can get involved as well. Jim Kambosos, you talk about wearing your heart on your sleeve for your son. I mean, again, Jim really rubs people up the wrong way as well. And I sort of get it, I do. But again, the way he goes about it, it's sort of funny. When I see the John Furies do it and all these other peanuts do it, I must admit, again, same as George, it's cringeworthy to me. But Jim's a bit like George. You can see where George has got it from. They're characters. They're characters, and they're the sort of characters we need in the sport. Now, again, I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea, and people are saying, well, it's one thing to do like if you got to, you can't fight, you can't be talking like that if you don't pack it up in the ring. And I understand it, but as I said, I've been asked numerous times about it, and that's my answer. I don't mind George Kambosos because he does it so well. He does it so well. Now, again, tomorrow, actually the fight card. We'll have a quick look at the fight card. Because I might not get a chance to go over it tomorrow. So the main event, of course, Richardson Hitchens, George Kambosos Jr. for the IBF 1 40-pound title. We've got Andy Cruz against Hironori Mishiro over 12 rounds at lightweight. Pablo Valdez and Cesar Diaz over 8 rounds at welterweight. Terramona against Aleem Whitfield over 6 rounds at heavyweight. Should be a good fight, that one. 9-0 versus 7-0. What else? A couple of prelims there. What are they? Is that a 6-rounder? Nishant Dev versus Josu Silva. What's the other one? And then it's a couple of 4-rounders. So I'm looking forward to it. I think, again, George does such a good job of building it up. A fight that I wasn't overly fussed about. I'm suddenly now looking forward to it a lot. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I just want George to bring it. Whether he wins, loses, maybe he loses every single round, I don't care. I want to see him get down and dirty like he was against Lopez. I think he would get a lot of respect from people if he goes in there and lets the hands go, roughs up Hitchens, really gets in his face and makes life hard for him. I don't want to see what happened against Haney, where Haney was just allowed to pretty much box his ears off for 12 rounds. I don't want to see with Hitchens what Liam Paro did as well. Same thing, let Hitchens box from a distance and do his thing and win nearly every round. I don't want to see that. I want George, and I think this is the only way he wins. I want him to really get down and do it. Now, whether he's capable of that, well, that's another story, but I think that's the only way he wins his fight. And maybe it's not George's style to get in people's faces. He's more of a, even though he can be aggressive, he's more of a standoff counter puncher sort of. Well, he's not a big puncher. Let's just put it that way. But in this fight, even though he doesn't necessarily have to be a puncher, but he has to be aggressive. He has to really push the pace, even if he's uncomfortable, even if he's going to wear a couple of punches on the way in. He needs to get in Hitchens' face and rough him up, or he's just going to lose 12 rounds to zip. So I'm really hoping that he can do that and turn back the clock a little bit and shock a few people and bring another world title back to Australia. Because all things aside, whether you like him or not, he's still an Aussie, he's still over there on the big stage, doing it in a massive fight in New York City. So he hasn't got the comforts of home. Like all his fights he's had, or mostly his big fights have been overseas. So anyone that does that, I've got a bit of respect for, whether it's him or Paro or Liam Wilson, whoever it is. I've got a lot of respect for guys that go overseas and try and get the job done. So in that respect, again, I don't really care about what people think of George as a person. I think, as an Aussie, I hope he brings back the title. So that's on tomorrow. I think the card starts at 9 a.m. The main event will probably be on about sort of 12:30, I think they said. So our day begins at the pub at 11. What else have we got today? There wasn't a hell of a lot, I remember. I've sort of talked about that the whole time, haven't I? But a couple of things. One thing I was curious about, Sam Goodman. Now, he's been announced to fight Nick Ball. Now, as a no-limit fighter is Sam Goodman. Where's the announcement? Where's the interview with Sam Goodman? Where's the post from Gorgeous George and No Limit? Where's the patting each other on the back saying, geez, how good are we? We've just got Sam Goodman a world title fight. There's been nothing from main event. No, as I said, no interviews. No posts about it. I don't think there's a post on No Limit's page at all, their social media. Now, normally, all their other fighters they have, they've got it plastered all over their social media and everything else. I've seen nothing from No Limit or main event or any Australian media. So was he still with No Limit? I'm assuming he is. But very, very odd. There's been more about, it's expected, of course, Tim Tszyu and everyone else, but I think there's been more focus on the Liam Paro, Liam Wilson main event fight card coming up than Sam Goodman, who's fighting for a world title. Well, actually there has, because there's been a post about it. There's been zero about Sam Goodman. So I don't know whether something's going on there, but normally in this instance, No Limit would be all over this. It would be all over the socials, and zero. So no doubt the fight's going ahead, but I was just staggered. There's been no official announcement from No Limit, nothing from them to say, hey, look at us, we've got another fighter, a world title shot. So that was one thing that I suppose, as they say, caught my eye. So keep an eye out for that. Chris Eubank Jr. being investigated by the BBC, BBBFC, or whatever the hell it is, for alleged use, wait for it, of a sauna in the lead up to the Conor Benn fight. Can you believe that? They're investigating his weight cut and the alleged use of a sauna. Are they banned in England? I've got no idea. Perhaps they are. But that is the most bizarre thing I think I've ever heard in boxing. Because if they saw some of the horrific things that I've seen over the journey of fighters trying to make weight, their head would spin. So I'm not sure what could come of it, whether there's penalties or whatever it might be. They get a little bit anal over there, don't they? The BBFC or whatever the hell they're called. But surely they would know of some of the things that fighters get up to. But that's the allegations, that he's used a sauna, and you can't do that apparently. So we'll see what happens with that one. So sorry, Chris, you've been suspended for 6 months because you used a sauna to make weight, even though Conor Benn did as well. So I'm not sure, but I think it was a few other methods he used, but that was apparently one of the main ones. And last one, Jaron Boots Ennis is about to move to 154. Apparently Eddie Hearn said that this, well, it's it now. He's going to relinquish the WBO, is it? What is it? What's he got? He's got a couple of titles, hasn't he? Whatever he's got, WBO and IBF. Yes, WBO and IBF. He's going to relinquish those belts and move up to 154 with the potential of fighting a tune-up and then the fight with Victor Ortiz after that. So some big things happening in the 154-pound division. If they weren't already, we're going to have more. Another big name added to the mix. So that is going to do it for today, I think, guys. There he is. I can just lost Neil. Yep, there he is in the bushes. But look, guys, have a great Saturday. I hope you enjoy the fights. I will do a video before tomorrow's fights, by the way, just a quick preview of it. But until then, have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow.